Hi, good morning. Today's topic is payroll. Under payroll, today we are going to discuss creation of units work, that is payroll units. The salary paid to an employee is computed based on work done by an employee, which is measured in terms of time or quantity. In teleprime, work done can be quantified using the payroll unit. A payroll unit is like a unit of measure which is used to measure the quantities. The unit of measure can either be simple or compound. For example, simple units are hours, minutes and pieces. Compound units. A compound unit is a relation between two simple units. Hence, before creating compound units, two simple units must be created. For example, hours of 60 minutes and box of 10 numbers. In teleprime, you can create simple as well as compound payroll units based on the business requirement. Suhas Enterprises Private Limited calculates overtime for the employees on an hourly basis, hence the payroll unit is required to be created as hours. For this, we will go to create option. Here I'll go to units work. Here I'll create the unit as hours, and number of decimal places will be 1. Okay. Now, the next topic is attendance and production types. Attendance and production type represents the basic units that are used to compute employees' pay and to represent data on productivity. You can also define attendance and production types in the hierarchical group to ensure that attendance types having a common unit are combined under logical groups. For example, the group present days can have present and leave with pay, that is earned leave and week off as subgroups. For example, attendance types are days, present and absent, and for production types we can consider hours worked or the number of pieces produced. The attendance and production types may be attendance and leave with pay. This should be used to record positive attendance and leave with pay. For example, present, earned leave and casual leave. Leave without pay should be used to record negative attendance. For example, absent and leave without pay. Production type. This should be used to record the production details. For example, piece production and overtime hours. Next is user-defined calendar type. This should be used to create user-defined calendar which can be later used to specify the variable number of working days for each month. For example, 25 days in January, 24 days in February, 26 days in March. Suhas Enterprises Private Limited wants to maintain the main attendance type as total number of days under which present days and leaves with pay are grouped so that they can easily derive the total number of paid days of a month for all the employees. Based on the company requirement, they want to maintain attendance as present, earned leave and week off under total number of days. For this, I'll go to attendance and production type. Here I'll create total number of days. Under primary, and the attendance type will be attendance and leave with pay. Period will be days. Okay. Now, I'll create attendance and production type as present under total number of days, and the rest of the information will come automatically. Next, I'll create earned leave under total number of days, and the rest of the information will come automatically. Next, I'll create week off under total number of days. Next I'll create absent under leave without pay, under as primary, and here I'll create the absent attendance under attendance type as leave without pay. Okay, the next topic is employees paid leaves. The employees of all the organizations such as government, non-government, private are entitled to some types of leaves based on the company policies to help the employees in maintaining balanced work life. It not only ensures the happiness and health of employees but also ensures increased productivity at work. The type of paid leaves depend on company policies. Some of the company commonly paid leaves are earned leave, sick leave, casual leave, maternity leave with conditions, paternity leave with the conditions. As per the leave policy of Suhas Enterprises Private Limited, all the employees are entitled to avail 24 days of EL employee leaves during the financial year 21 to 22. To account earned leave attendance voucher is recorded. Pay heads in Teleprime. The salary components constituting an employee's pay structure is called a pay head. A pay head may be earning for the employee or a deduction that is recovered from his or her salary. The value of these pay heads should be either fixed or variable for each payroll period. For example, basic pay is a fixed pay component, whereas overtime, bonus, etc. variable components. Pay heads may be broadly considered as earnings and deductions from an employee's point of view. However, these pay heads would still be expense and liability from the employer's point of view. Understanding on pay heads of Teleprime. Number one is earnings for employees. Earnings for employees can be a fixed component which is paid regularly every month, like basic pay, conveyance, house rent allowance, or it could be a variable component which is either paid on a quarterly or half yearly basis, like bonus or variable fee. Deduction from employees. Deduction from employees is the amount that is deducted before paying the salary. It could be a non-statutory deduction like canteen deduction, loans and advances deducted from salary. Employee statutory deduction. Employee statutory deductions is the statutory amount that is deducted before paying the salary, like employee provident fund, employee state insurance and professional tax. Employer statutory contribution. Employer statutory contribution are the mandatory contributions made by law. As per law, an employer must contribute towards employees' provident fund and employees' state insurance. Next is employers' other charges. Employers' other charges are used to account for the PF administration charges such as employees' deposits, linked insurance, contributions and employees' administration charges. Next is bonus. Bonus is an extra payment or compensation which is made to employees in addition to their salary. The company may announce a bonus to reward the achievements of employees and the company. The pay head bonus in Teleprime is used to account the bonus given to the employees. Gratuity. Gratuity is an amount paid by an employer as gratitude for serving his company for more than 5 years and is paid at the time of retirement or resignation. To account gratuity pay head type is selected. Loans and advances. Loans and advances are used to track the loans and advances given to the employees. Reimbursement to employees. Reimbursements to employees is used when an employer pays a certain amount to their employees based on the bills submitted by them, like medical bills, travel bills, phone bills, etc. Tax paid by employer on perquisites. Tax paid by employer on perquisites is selected if the employer at his option has paid income tax on the whole or part of a perquisite provided by way of non-monetary payments to the employee. Example is residential accommodation provided by the employer, rent-free unfurnished accommodation. Understanding of pay head calculation types in TelePrime. There are 5 types of calculations available in the pay head creation screen. Companies can opt for the required calculation type for the pay head based on their company policies and practices. On attendance. On attendance calculation type can be selected when a company decides to pay a component based on the number of days present and absent. As computed value. As computed value calculation type is usually based on defined formula, that is one component's calculation is based on another component's value. For example, HRA is paid as 40% of basic pay. As user defined value. As user defined value calculation type is selected when the amount to be paid is uncertain or cannot be derived by any calculations and need to be maintained manually. For example, reimbursement components like medical bills, the conveyance is paid based on the bill submitted by the employees. Flat rate. Flat rate calculation type is selected when the company decides to pay a company component at a flat rate. That is irrespective of whether an employee is present or absent. On production calculation type is selected when the company pays a component based on the number of hours, minutes worked or based on the production, that is number of pieces produced. Understanding of method of computation. In TelePrime, there are 4 methods of computation available while creating pay heads. The same is listed in chart here. On current deductions total. This calculation type is used when the value of a pay head depends upon the total of the deductions pay heads previously defined. For example, in a few companies for late arrival, there would be late punch deductions if the late punch exceeds the minimum number of days set by the company. Then as a disciplinary measure, additional deductions will be charged. In this case, for the additional deduction pay head, we can select the computation method as on current deduction total. On current earning total. This calculation type is used when the value of a pay head depends upon the total earnings pay heads previously defined. For example, when loyalty is paid on a percentage of total earnings, few companies declare loyalty pay of 2% on current earnings. In this case, for the loyalty pay head, we can select the computation method as on current earning total. On current subtotal. This calculation type is used when the value of a pay head depends upon the net total of earnings and deductions previously defined. For example, in a few companies, entertainment allowance of one person is paid on the net salary, that is total earnings minus total deduction. In this case, for the entertainment allowance pay head, we can select the computation method as on current subtotal. Next is unspecified formula. This calculation type is used when the pay head value is computed on the value of one or more pay heads already defined in the pay structure. TelePrime allows the addition and subtraction of pay heads already defined in the pay structure and multiplication and division using attendance types. For example, for calculation of overtime, the formula is basic pay divided by total number of days in a month into overtime hours whole divided by 100. The above formula can be applied in overtime pay head by selecting the computation method as unspecified formula. Now, creation of primary pay heads. Under this, the primary pay head required to be created to process the salaries of the employees of Suhas Enterprises Private Limited are listed below. Let us understand the meaning of each pay head and learn to create these pay heads in TelePrime. Number 1 pay head is basic pay. For this, I'll go to pay heads. Okay, here I'll create the pay head as basic pay. And pay head type will be earning for employees. Income type will be fixed under indirect expenses. Effect net salary, yes. Name to be displayed in payslip as basic pay and used for calculation of gratuity, yes. And set and alter income tax details, no. And calculation type will be as on attendance. And attendance and leave with pay will be total number of days. And calculation period will be months. And basis of calculation will be calendar period. And rounding method will be normal rounding. Limit will be 1. That's it. Alright, so this way I have created the pay head basic pay. Now I'll create another pay head, that is house rent allowance. HRA is a salary component or part of the salary provided by the company to its employees. HRA offers tax benefits to the employees for the amount paid by them for accommodations every year. Salary individuals living in rented house can avail the tax benefit on house rent allowance partially or fully. Salary individuals can claim for house rent allowance only if they are in rented accommodation. If they do not live in rented accommodation, house rent allowance will be fully taxable. HRA is fixed based on the salary. The factors which affect a house rent allowance are the cities in which the employees is accommodated. For the employees accommodated in metro cities are entitled to 50% of salary as HRA. For the employees accommodated in non-metro cities are entitled to 40% salary as HRA. Here I'll create house rent allowance. The pay head type will be earning for employees. Income type will be fixed. It will come under indirect expense. Effect net salary, yes. Name to be displayed in pay slip, that is HRA house rent allowance. Used for calculation of gratuity, no. And then calculation type will be as computed value. And rounded method will be normal rounding and limit will be 1. And here compute on specified formula. Add pay head, that is basic pay, and end of list effective from 1st April 2023, amount up to and slab type will be percentage and value will be 40%. Alright, so this way my house rent allowance is created successfully. Now the another pay head I'll create over here is conveyance. Conveyance is the allowance given to the employee as a component of the salary in addition to the basic pay. Conveyance allowance is given from the company for the transportation of employees from residence to office and office to residence. For this, I'll create the pay head as conveyance. Pay head type will be earning for employees. Income type will be indirect fixed and under indirect expense. Effect net salary, yes. Used for calculation of gratuity, no. And calculation type will be flat rate. Calculation period will be months and normal rounding. Enter as 1. That's it. So this way I have created conveyance as another pay head. Now next is overtime. Overtime refers to an additional hour of work performed by an employee exceeding their standard working hours set by the company. Overtime is earning for employees. Calculation of overtime. Overtime allowance can be calculated based on per hour of basic pay. That is, the working hours of Suhas Enterprises Private Limited are 9 hours. The total working hours will help in driving the percentage of overtime to be paid for the employees. Basic pay divided by the total number of days will give per day salary. Assuming that there are 9 working day hours in a day, the overtime percentage is derived as shown in table. Working hours are 9 and percentage on basic is 100%. So overtime percentage will be 100 divided by 9, that is 11.11%. For this, I'll go to pay heads and create a pay head overtime over here. It will be earnings for employees. Income type will be variable, and under indirect expenses and effect net salary, yes, and calculation type will be as computed value, and rounding method will be normal rounding, limit will be 1, and compute on the basis of specified formula. I'll add over here overtime. Pay head as basic pay, then divide by attendance, and now I'll select total number of days over here and select multiply with attendance, and I'll select overtime. I'll select overtime over there, and effective from 1st April 23, and amount up to, I'll skip this, and slab type will be percentage and value will be 11.11%. Alright, so this way my overtime pay had also been created. Now next is canteen deduction. Canteen deduction pay head is created for those companies who provide canteen food for their employees and recover the food expenses from the employees towards the canteen service provided. So for this I'll create a canteen deduction. It is a deduction from employees under indirect income. Effect net salary, yes. Here name to be displayed in pay slip as canteen deduction. Calculation type as user defined value. That's it. Okay. Next is creation of statutory pay heads. The statutory pay heads required to be created to process the salaries of the employees of Suhas Enterprises Private Limited. Let us understand the components on using which the statutory components are computed as per law and table. Number 1 is Provident Fund. Provident Fund is calculated on basic pay and dearness allowance. Employee state insurance is calculated on basic pay plus house rent allowance plus conveyance plus overtime pay. Next is professional taxes calculated on current total earnings. National pension scheme is calculated on basic pay and dearness allowance, and gratuity is calculated on basic pay and dearness allowance. So I hope you understood all the practical aspects of payroll very carefully. I'll get back to you next video. Stay tuned with me. Thank you so much.